Hello, welcome to TorquayTalk's new podcast. It's all gone south. We have a very special guest in this episode today, Marc White. Now, before we get into that, we just want to talk a bit about our new sort of project. So, it will be similar to the Goals Eye View. It'll be weekly or every other week, and the aim is to kind of give more sort of limelight to Southern non-league football, such as National League South, of course, and then a few divisions below us. We want to work with people who know about the league, fans of other clubs in our division, people of Bucklands, people of Brixton, and we're just going to sort of bring those sort of stories to the front. We're going to bring you sort of just debates maybe and sort of open it up and really sort of bring and learn more ourselves, I think, lads, don't you? Because when we started this the other day, I was like, oh, this is great. And then I suddenly realised I only know anything about Torquay and a bit about dorking because of a bunch of amateurs. But yeah, no, we're going to be doing this. It's going to be on Spotify as well. We've already got a few like fans of other clubs who are going to speak to us and sort of join us. And I just want to create this big network. Yeah, just make this National League stuff really interesting this season. It's going to be really cool. And I want to hear from people and their stories in football, and let's show good light to all the people like Marc White who have really made a difference to our communities and the work that goes on behind it. So enough chat. We're going to go into our first episode, the three of us. We've got Tom, we've got Clive, and we interviewed Marc, and we've just finished it, and it's absolutely brilliant. What an incredible bloke and what an incredible story. Goals Eye View will be back next week. Goals Eye View will still go as normal, exactly the same format as last season.
Interesting to see tonight as well. The great man was without baseball cap. He was very, very keen early on to show
yeah.
us his
Yeah,
new
before we
hair,
started, he
which
was
I'm
showing off
sure
his
you will
barnet.
agree. I'm sure you'll agree is lush, and he plays with it for 45 minutes straight.
And also, big thank you to Tom, as in Tom Kelly in front of us now, who has arranged this with a bunch of amateurs who are hopefully written on there. Please check out their series if you haven't already. If you like the Neil Warnock documentary, if you like any football documentary like The Sun Until I Die, this is absolutely incredible. Start wherever you want. Start maybe at the playoff final just to get to know about Dorking a bit more and their incredible story. Hopefully, it won't be too incredible this season, obviously.
Also, TorquayTalk are going once again for the Football Content Awards this year. We're going for two categories this season. We're going for the Best Editorial Non-League, and we're also going for the Best Non-League Podcast for Goals Eye View. So we really appreciate your support, Yellow Army. Link is in the description of this video below, so please do fill out the form there. It'll only take a couple of minutes, but we really appreciate your support for TorquayTalk. We love making content for you guys, and as I think we've proven throughout the last 12 months, this TorquayTalk has just become such a huge focal point for you, the fans.
We're getting no views now. Now the owners are great, and now it's all going to go well. We'll get no views, so that's why we started this new one. But yeah, thank you for anyone who will vote for us. So yeah,
please do that. Vote early, vote often. You know it makes sense. Thanks, guys,
and enjoy the episode. Marc White, thanks for joining us.
No worries, mate. No worries, Sam. Thanks for. I'm one of those, me. I don't back down from anything, even going on the Rivals podcast.
I know, because when we originally asked you, we were like, no, surely way. And thanks to a bunch of amateurs as well for organising it for us. We also just pointing out as well that this is not, even though it's TorquayTalk, we're doing it as like this new It's All Gone South podcast, which is actually just giving a platform to sort of Southern Non-League and people within it. And of course, your story is absolutely incredible. We'll go through from the very start, obviously, very briefly. For those who don't know, was it step 17 to obviously now where we are now? Just Wimbledon fans making it with your mates in the 90s. And all of that kind of story. Just how important is the non-league football structure from the very bottom to where you've been to where we are now? How important is it for communities and just England's football culture?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive, isn't it? I mean, the one good thing that the FA have done, whether it's by default or not, is have the best pyramid in the world.
Yeah.
Not if you're stuck in the football league for donkey's years, you'd never really get that. But when I talk to a lot of our American supporters and Australian, they're just envious that you actually can start a football club in the UK, and you could have a dream to go to the Premier League, and there is a facility to do so. We were step 17, and a lot of hard work, blood and tears to develop the club. But you know, my passion is for the guy that does the gate. You know, all the volunteers. That's where we've come from. You know, like I go around the grounds now and I know them all. That's the lifeblood of football. And fortunately, they're not a dying breed, as young lads like you will vouch for. There's a lot of young volunteers coming into football now, and it's just brilliant. Football's all about the supporters and about the volunteers. And as you know better than anyone, you've got to be careful what you wish for, because the choice between being successful and having a club, there's only one choice. And we all want to make sure we've got a team to support week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, we know like Southend, we'll move on to that a bit more, the ownership side later, but like Southend, Oldham and all that, you just don't realize it until you actually get to that point where how important, and especially when you have an owner who isn't interested in the fans and the communities, you know, how crucial this, from literally, as you say, people on the gate, how important those people are. And just to come up through the leagues like that is just this incredible, really.
Yeah.
But just how do you keep like the momentum going? Like, sure, a lot of people sort of get a few promotions and be like, "God, not like that," you know, fancy someone else. But to keep going and be realistic with it and keep going and going, just how would you set that like goal?
Kind of become a bit of a habit, really. I guess it's
Yeah.
a bit like buying a nice car, and and then when you're 18, and then you want to get a bit of a nicer one, and just get a bit of a bug for it. And I've just devoted my whole lifetime to Dorking Wanderers, so that's what I'll always be known for, I guess, no matter what happens in my life. But yeah, obviously, look, we've got a lot of amazing people around us, people that have joined the project that become engaged with it. We've now got a fan ownership group as well. One of the reasons behind that was, more people with a vested interest in the club's long-term future. So yeah, it's just been a relentless slog. I'll be honest, it was the, the kind of plan has always been to not have a plan.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is the honest truth, because it's difficult. How many 5-year plans have you ever seen work in football?
But that's a funny thing around
Mhm.
Torquay United fans. We were told that when we went to have a stadium 5 years ago. So yeah, we've probably seen one of the worst 5-year plans of all time in our previous ownership.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen. I mean, we, at Dorking, we are relentlessly raising revenue constantly, right? So, I mean, the Woking are in a lot of trouble,
Mm,
and they're looking for a buyer. And the owner done such a refreshing interview. He just said, "Look, from Chelsea down to step 4, step 5, if there's a football club, someone's putting money in. They're not self-maintained. They're not sustainable,
mm,
right? And if they are sustainable, the fans will be moaning because they'll be in the bottom 8. This is just football. This is
mm.
how it is, and I've learned that. And so yeah, we raise revenue constantly. We're fortunate to have a lot of brilliant supporters, and I've learned in the last couple of years that sustainability is got to be the goal for any football club.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can run and obviously manage a football club as well as a business. Has there been times where those two have clashed? And if like just as like a personal thing, if there's people who are unsure how to like manage everything, what was your advice to that? Like how do you find the time?
Well, it's just like for me, I used to liken the football club to sort of like having an allotment.
Mm,
That was my thing. That's my hobby. Some people, collect antique clocks or go to the allotment. My passion, my dedication is just the football club. Now, what I will say is it's now taken over. It's a big allotment. It's 99% of my time. So I spend 99% of my time where I earn zero money.
yeah,
That is so that's a life decision, really, because I'd be a really rich man if I just run my businesses. But I guess I'm not one that's ever really wanted to have the biggest house, if you like, and not really worried about that. So that's my choice. We've all got choices, and
yeah, I
but
love that though.
it's just like anything, really. It's just like if you want to succeed in anything, you just spend more time doing it. No one ever got anything without a bit of hard work. I get up every day, 4:30, and I go to Starbucks at the services because it's 24 hours, and I love it. and I just literally I got the same appetite now as I ever had.
No,
Who do you speak to, Mark, when you're scratching your head thinking, I'm not sure about this? Who do you go to?
That's a good question, you know.
It's a good question, Clive.
I've got people around me. We've got 3-4 key people. More recently, we brought in a first ever chief exec. Like, sounds all official, and he's brilliant, amazing, very clever, much smarter than me. Taking weight off me, and we've got other people who've been around quite a few years um, that have offered sound advice, etc., off the field. And on the field, I love it. I will listen to anybody's advice. You know, like in recent years, I've met some great managers in the National League, and I just take it all in, really. So I kind of give out as much advice as I listen to, if that makes sense. I'm not,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? I know my limits. I know I give it the big one, but I'm not, I'm not, I'm not there to make the numbers up. I love to stand up and be counted. And I got asked a question about Torquay actually. In fact, on a podcast this morning, and they said, you know, have we got any tasty rivalries? I said, well, not rivalries. I said, but we had a real load of fun down at Torquay last time.
It'll be fun.
I said, but
yeah.
I said, but what I love about it is that with me, it's like, you know, I'm prepared to give it and I'm really good at taking it. And on the way off, I'll shake your hand and go, you bastards, you had me. But if you give it to me and we win, I'll let you have it. And that's just, for me, that's the sport though, isn't it? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
There's no hard feelings in that. You know, there's nothing aggressive or passive aggressive. It's just good old, you know, create some, you know, enthusiasm with what's going on, do you know?
Yeah, no,
I reckon you're going
to
miss fourth officials this year, aren't you? Because
no, they've got them still.
Not in our division,
yes.
I don't think.
They put them back again.
Yeah.
I've got a seat in the front row of our main stand, mate, so I'll be right behind you watching your work again. Excellent.
They've got fourth officials, but they haven't got the comms kits. So they've sought approval. So, but the good news is, and credit to the league, is that the fourth officials are now the same qualification as the man in the middle. And I don't know if you know this, but they never were. They were like 3 divisions below.
Okay.
Okay.
So that should see an improvement, because what happens is when they're sort of on their Domino's pizza driver headsets, right? What they do is they make decisions for them, because it's a bit like, and then what I noticed was happening. I used to say to referees, whatever you do, the reason you're at this level is because you're good. So don't let the fourth official tell you things are bookings, or if it's you know, because I was listening to it all, and I mean, I had a referee at Barnet once who went in, the linesman rather, and sorry, the fourth official went in his sort of microphone to an incident the other side of the pitch and went, yellow card, yellow card. And I'm like, so there's been a bit of dilution with them fourth officials, creating a bit of a safety net for the man in the middle. So this year it should be better, but they've got no communications, which is a bit weird.
That's really interesting. I didn't realise they're all a fourth official. I thought it was too much the other way, actually. I was like, what do they actually do? But think about it, if you go right up to VAR, I mean, how is a ref meant to manage a game where he's got loads of people telling him their opinions in his ear? Like, and refs have got to make that decision and think. And if everyone's going, oh no, it's definitely a yellow. Yeah, that's really interesting. That.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, I used to watch it week in, week out and listen to it, and fourth officials would give the majority of throw-ons on their side. They would just go, yeah, red, blue, and anything contentious, they would have an opinion. And yeah, it just felt, well, it wasn't felt, it was the case that they was just diluting the authority of the man in the middle. And I used to say to refs in the brief before the game, when I used to give them my briefing, which they didn't like, but I used to say, well, if you're going to brief me, then I want to brief you. And I used to say, like, just ref your own game. Like, I haven't got an issue with that. But so hopefully this year it's a bit better. But
let's hope so, because it needed to change, especially in the south. I think the best refs are always the ones you don't notice, and there's so many refs who just want to import their own whatever onto a game. It just ruins the flow, as
It's
we all know.
frustrating, really. They're not helped by the constant law changes.
No.
You wait until you see the one coming out this year. This is the best of all time. You wait and see it. It's they put it up at the meeting the other week. It's based encroachment at penalties. So it's completely designed for VAR, but because they're bringing it into,
which we
you
haven't
know,
got.
it goes into the whole of the game. So as he put it up, they're showing examples of when it applies. It's like, if his toenail is over the line, the one of the attacking team, and keeper saves it, and they score the rebound, retake it. Then you've got the same in reverse. So they score it, but someone's encroaching, or keeper saves it, but a defender encroaches, take it again. Crazy shit.
Oh my God, that's going to be a
One of the
nightmare in
issues is
VAR, isn't it?
they don't leave the laws alone, which doesn't help the referees. It doesn't help them.
I agree. I feel sorry for referees a lot of the time, actually.
Yeah, I do.
I feel like they're set up to fail. I know there's a few that really don't help themselves, but I think they're set up to fail. But yeah, Tom, question about the next one about sort of clubs coming up in the period, maybe.
Yeah. So we know Dorking Wanderers have been, in the main, very successful in their rise up the pyramid. But a lot of the time, success brings a lot of change in terms of players and turnarounds. What tends to happen normally, players, you get promoted and then your best players go elsewhere, play in higher divisions to the level above. And that could mean that you end up in a worse position a couple of years later, off and on the pitch. How do you avoid that? And should there be more financial rewards for clubs for going up the ladder?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the problem is you've got this like issue in football. Like the more financial rewards, if they're sort of shared financial rewards like Premier League funding, then the problem is that clubs just spend more money. So the only people that get richer are the players, if that makes
Right,
sense.
yeah.
In the EFL now, the Sky TV deal tripled. Premier League funding, I think, borderline doubled. And it just means everyone's got more money. So the striker that's worth £600 worth 1,100.
Right, yeah,
So
no.
it is difficult. Think the reason you get so many owners in football is because it's a bit of a thankless task, Tom, to be honest. And to be successful, you've probably got to spend more money. And then when you are successful, to be successful again, you've got to do it again. So yeah, I think being sustainable and having a really good coach, is the key, because if you can get 30% more out of your setup with a top modern coach, and someone that can build teams with continuity, that's as much as you can hope for. So that way you're always punching above your weight without having to pay above your weight.
Did you find that as well at the lower levels as you were coming up, say towards the Ishbian and through the Sussex County divisions? I know a little bit about Dorking Wanderers' rise in that regard. I live in Sussex and I've seen it in all the local papers and stuff. I live quite around a couple of clubs that, like Littlehampton and East Preston, those kind of level clubs. Even at that level, did you find it difficult, like the further you went up, to keep your best players?
Yeah, you always have to be paying them more than the next person. Simple as that. I mean, that's just how football works in general. But yeah, look, we just always went on some principles. Really, sign the players that score the most goals. That was our success mechanism. Which, if you explain that to someone that didn't know football, they'd probably go, "Yeah, yeah, that makes sense." But when you explain it to people in football, sometimes they don't. They sort of pause to think about it. When people say who's going to win the league, I always say, well, go through all the teams in the division and then work out how many people score goals. Because you can't win leagues without scoring goals.
Mm-hmm.
And no one in a football team that doesn't score goals starts scoring goals. Don't happen.
Yeah.
They might score 8 or 10, but they never score 25. Right. So, yeah, we've always made sure that we retain boys that score goals as our strategy. And it is always harder because people want them.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got quite a scary looking lineup in strikers actually. Going into the season,
You
we'll talk a
better
bit more
believe
about the
it, Sam.
season. Yeah, I know. We'll go into the squad in a bit, but yeah, no, I can see that in the current squad definitely. And we actually have four strikers as well because last season we had two strikers,
We
which is
do.
always famously going to end well when you have play a two striker formation. You know, not like injuries happen or anything like that. But yeah, we're
Weren't
going
even
to
fit at the
24.
start of the season, were they?
No, exactly. So we're going to 24-25 in a bit. But yeah, that's interesting. Can you answer a question, Mike? Because we keep hearing it, especially with the whole FA Cup replays debacle. What
Yeah.
is grassroots funding? And does anyone know when the FA come out and say, "Oh, we've done this, but we do grassroots funding"? Is that literally they're giving to like clubs, like the because we talk about how good the FA's pyramid is? But does anyone actually know
So
what grassroots funding
so
is?
in credit to the Premier League,
Yeah.
Premier League fund pretty much the majority of football.
Okay.
So if you're a Championship club, you get X from the Premier League, and then it goes down. If you're a National League club, last year, National League club will get circa 100 grand from the Premier League per
Okay.
season. In our division now, the South goes down to 40 grand and
All right.
so on. Right. So, um, in terms of like when they talk about funding, the Premier League also, it's their money that's in the Football Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair to the Premier League, they get a lot of shit, and so they should in a lot of cases. They don't do a very good job of promoting what they do put back into the game. They don't really tell
Yeah.
anyone about it
Okay.
because they're so busy on yachts and counting their money, genuinely. Because it's a billionaire industry, isn't it? That
Yeah, of
they
course.
don't really do a great job of promoting the good they do for the game. But the FA Cup replays bit, they show the stats, and you can't deny when you looked at the stats, the amount of clubs that ever get into the position where they could be denied the
Mm.
opportunity of that replay is minimal compared to what they consider the upside to be. I don't
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I don't
No, of
agree, but
course.
that's their argument.
Yeah, no,
And
I agree with
they
that.
well, and they call the shots, don't they? That's the
Yeah.
truth of it. Can I ask you a little bit
They
about
do.
you would basically, I think you said just now, you're only going to keep a player if you're paying them enough money, and that's I get that. But having said that, you've had enormous success up through lots of different levels of football. So talk to us about man management a little bit. It's got to make a difference, I would have thought.
Yeah, it does. I should have probably said what I meant was like in particular strikers.
Right.
Um, they're the ones that, they stand out more because especially when you're going through the leagues, no one cares who the best centre mid is because you can't read about it. But all they do is look at who scores the goals and then they pinch them. So they're the ones that demand more. Yeah, man, 100%. If it's a positive environment, if you're winning, treat people right, if it's fun, and that's what we've always created. We'd be going to Spain or celebrating things. We've always tried to keep it very good environment. And you're dead right, Clive. That is definitely the reason that some people would turn down £100 a week extra somewhere else to play for us. But the higher we've gone, the less that applies. That's what I'd say. Still
Yeah.
there.
Thank you.
We've got
Yeah.
boys like Briggs, McShane, and boys that have been there a long time, but the kind of like that element does fall away slightly.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
interesting.
interesting.
Thanks. Yeah.
Football ownership, right? Salesley, as we said earlier, Oldham, Torquay, Southend, now Woking. Um, we Woking was different actually because we said it was just a football person who generally doesn't have money. I mean, our sort of regimes, it was Macclesfield and Bury as well. They were very much regimes where they weren't football people and they didn't look at the community aspect enough. We spoke a bit earlier, but what is it like when you're in your position, obviously talking for the year, and you're seeing like football league clubs like ours and they're just falling? What is that like when you're with us and you see that like as an owner and that? How crazy is that from like someone who's in the football industry? How does it look like?
Well, initially it was startling. So
Mm,
initially I was just like you, where I see Bury, Macclesfield, and think bloody hell, and then you don't really read into it, do you?
no.
And then like we came across Oldham
Mm,
just bizarrely. They was our first our first ever away game in the National League, and it was the same day that the owner had rescued the club.
I remember.
So we built this incredible relationship with a founder Premier League club, which was just so bizarre. It was like, kind of, Miss World meets, kind of someone from the streets, it's like, and yeah, and then we went up there, and when we played them, it was on BT. We pulled up in the coach. It was a lovely day. They had marching bands walking down the street. There's someone singing the national anthem. They'd gone from 3,000 crowd on average to 9,000 for this game. And it was like a major local event. And so firsthand, I saw what it meant. And that made me a lot more aware because the fans were just like, we're so happy we've got our club back. So now I look around and I also I observe it within our own club. We constantly work towards sustainability. We're not sustainable. Like in a million years, nobody will be sustainable in terms of the money that's paid on admissions, burgers, season tickets, pays the player wages. That's not realistic, right? And if it is realistic, then you'll be in the bottom six. That is, unless you are incredibly lucky and have an amazing coach. So I'm very aware of it. And when I see it, Southend was phenomenal. Kev Mayer built a statue like it'll never happen again. If Kev Mayer wasn't the manager, they'd go under 100%. And convincing players to play for what, 9 months without money over Christmas? Yeah. Unbelievable. And then with Woking now, local club, which means a lot to people. So it's you've only got to see the amount of clubs, don't you, before you start the season, that 4 or 5 are going to fall away every year. You know it in advance. It's going to happen. I mean, they'll get rescued because somebody loves football and there's a way and mean. I think local authorities can do a lot more for their clubs than what they do. They don't often smell the coffee on the economic impact of a local football club, but some do. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's a tough one, isn't it? There's a lot more to it. So we're moving to the upcoming season. Obviously, it's going to be a really close season. I mean, obviously, from the Torquay perspective, it's a brand new squad. It will save the club rebuilding. But I think last year there was quite a bit of a cocky attitude within the squad and the management. Oh, it's fine, we'll bounce back up because it was easy for us in 2018. And
that's
my God,
now.
Yeah. And my God, we had a shot. Every team outplayed us. I know we picked up a few results somehow at the start. But what's your feelings? Obviously, it's the first time last season. Obviously, it must have been the first time we've gone for relegation or something like that. Not there's any disgrace at all from it. But what's the feeling been like during the summer for you? I know this. Have you had to reset? It's pretty much a similar squad, isn't it? But what's it been like?
Yeah, I mean, most of our squad would be mid-table National League, couple of sort of players that could play high end or bottom end of League Two comfortably. Probably only 30% maybe our National South players. That is the bottom line. So what I won't do is I'll just be honest about things. And I know you're going to agree with me when I'm telling you you're going to agree with me. But when I look at the squad available, because obviously most of that squad was injured last year. Yeah. When I look at the boys we've signed, the strategy we've made off the field, when I look at our record in the division, 3 years in it, playoff semi-finalist first season with no signings, looking like we were going to win it when it got pulled off in COVID, 6 points clear, games in hand, and then playoff winners, unfortunate not to win it the year after. So 3 years, and we've not been out the playoffs or top 2. Our squad is way better than the one that's been in it before, way better. But I'm just saying, for me, as far as I know about the division, we've probably got the best squad in the league. However, that doesn't mean to say we've got the best team in the league or the best manager. That's just me putting, I guess, pressure on myself because I'm honest like that. But my expectation is that we should not be being outside of a home playoff game would be failure, 100%. But I do believe to win a division, you need to get an awful lot of luck because sometimes you don't lose a division. Sometimes somebody else wins it. And when it's one up, that matters. When Maidstone beat us to the title last couple of weeks, last time round, it was just not innocuous. They had a left winger, Luke, that just scored God knows how many goals out of nowhere. And when teams win the league, you know the ones they score a winner, didn't they, Clive, in the 94th minute every week?
We had it with Sutton in 2021.
There you go.
We were well clear, and they started winning in February, and you thought they can't win.
You knew what was happening though, didn't you?
Yeah,
just
we were
mad.
done.
Yeah,
you know what's happening, right? So when it comes to one up, see that's where these League Two clubs have got such a benefit. 3 up automatic.
Yeah,
right. If you're as long as you're doing most things right, you'd fancy your chances of being in that 3. But with one up, you're only as good as whether somebody else has a better season. As stupid as that sounds.
Yeah.
Right?
Because Wrexham finished second with 96 points or something crazy a few years ago, didn't they?
That's it, mate.
Notts County, it's taken them ages to get out of the division. So it's hell of a hurdle.
And even that
really.
season, we lost the playoff final, which we don't mention. Like we were just ridiculous for so much of that season, and we didn't go up. It's hard.
It's I call it one promotion slot because you cannot qualify a second promotion slot that's between 6 sides. That is a lottery. You've only got to look at the teams that got promoted last year, Boston and Braintree, to tell you that, that's it's not the best team that gets promoted from the playoffs. But so I've got high expectations because of our wage bill and because of the type of players we've got. And I don't hide away from how things are. And that's where it is. But it's a league full of good managers, good teams, good supporters, good clubs, and somebody could have a cracker or 2 teams, and that could be enough for us to be in the playoffs. And then, just like you said, then Wrexham, Notts County, whoever, you're a great side, but you found one too good. That could happen.
Yeah.
Are you fully full-time for this season?
Yeah, we're doing basically 4 days, including a Saturday. Just 3 days and the Saturday, which, in honesty, a lot of the senior pros we've got say that was something that worked better when they was in full-time football. That they found like doing that sort of 5-day week was quite tenuous at times. So yeah, we're doing more now than we've ever done.
Okay.
Would you attribute to?
Go on, Tom.
Sorry, Sam. Would you attribute to relegation last season? I know in the Bunch of Amateur series, a couple of times you make reference, I believe, anyway. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that, but some players, maybe the part-time ones, would focus maybe too much on their other job than the football club. Do you think that had a little bit of an effect to relegation and the decision to kind of go more full-time for this campaign?
Yeah. So if we had stayed up, I was literally going to rip the doors off, and everything was going to be full-time. We finished 16th in our first year, only about 10, 12 points off the playoffs. And we were doing Tuesday, Thursday nights. But what worked about that was that everybody was doing the same thing. So everyone was in the same boat, right? So there was no training session where someone would be there, someone wouldn't, all of these dynamics. So we was a bit more of a team, a bit more of a unit. That was our setup. And then when we infiltrated it and went to sort of 2 mornings, we had people in one morning, not the other, people working, laptops out. It was just carnage and it didn't work. And an injury crisis on top of that, and a few bad decisions from me, and the rest is history. I did make a point earlier of saying one of the other biggest problems we had in that division was there was only ever 3 points between 10, 11 teams.
Yeah.
And that was a negative because it meant you never panicked. And I felt like we'd probably sorted it out because as an owner, knowing that we'd had a huge injury crisis and knowing that we had 29 players on the books already, as an owner, I'm thinking, well, there's 3 points between 11, 12 teams, right? I know that we've got boys coming back to fitness. We only need 3-4 wins. I didn't panic.
It'll
Right?
come right. You don't need to.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly, Clive.
Yeah.
And like, but then, like, it's a file that was set adrift early on. They ripped it all up, started afresh, and then finished with a wet sail. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of close proximity went against us in my book.
Yeah, no, it's similar to us actually. When we come down, we were like awful season, but then it was like, oh, hang on a minute, we're only like 2 or 3 points off, just a run of form, and we did have a run of form, and then we didn't stay up. But yeah, it's interesting nationally, isn't it? Because if you go back to 2000, that's when we were first in it, 2008. It was very much you had 5 or 6 ex-football league teams, a couple non-league teams going for it, and the rest were just like gutsy part-time teams. Now
Yeah.
it's a bit like League Three, as they say. It's very much a lot of good clubs are doing the right thing. And like Boreham Wood have been near the top for ages. One seat year they took it off the ball, they're down. And it's a bit like the championship now in a way, almost when you got like 17, 18 teams who are pretty much maybe overspend or really going for it to get out of the Football League. And it just creates this panic. And you always get those teams who do just come down. It's a lot harder for teams to bounce up from the south and be ready. I mean, look at Oxford
It's
City
definitely got easier to get relegated at a national league,
yeah,
isn't
by
it?
a mile.
Yeah. So there's
What a great way
clearly
of putting it.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what a
there's
great
clearly
way of putting it.
more decent teams in there because it used to be honest when we were down there before it was quite a weak division really, and you couldn't accuse it of that now. You kind of you answered one of our other questions there actually, because our club this year's got to do a little bit of management of a hybrid squad, and so you've kind of given quite a clear indication about what can go wrong with that. So that's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
we've got 2 or 3 part timers. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
yeah, I mean, I think you might get away with it in this division because we've still got the same as you. So we've still got a few boys that are doing less days than the rest, but it's only a few.
Yeah.
Because my mindset was now we've been relegated, continuity, boys that have won the league before. You know, I wanted to do a bit of a calculated risk on that.
Okay.
But yeah, not in the league above. What I would say is that I do think there's a bit of a model for the league above to the observant that's working quite well because the likes of Halifax and Gateshead, they don't have huge money. They have good coaches and they recruit very specifically around senior pros and first, second year talented youngsters. And I think there are clubs proving that you don't have to have the big money to sustain it in that league. But half the battle is if you try to keep up with the Joneses, you know, that's you're gonna not win, if that makes sense. You're better off having your own version of being good.
Yeah, I
It's
think
leveled off a bit now, hasn't it? Because you had your Wrexhams, your Notts Counties, Chesterfields, even. I mean, they were blowing everybody out of the water. And actually, now you probably are in a position there where you know you can coach your way out of it a bit more, maybe. But we're all in the south this year, aren't we? So we're a little way off that at the minute.
Yeah.
And Mark, you've got a squad full of experienced players and quality at this level. I believe your average age for the squad this year is 29, if I'm right with that. Having potential assets is increasingly important in football, but does a more data-driven approach underestimate the importance of experience and football know-how at this level?
Yeah, definitely, probably. I think you've got to get the right blend. I think if you look in the Football League, truly, there's lots of different sides of recruiting on data and get experience around it, Tom. So I definitely agree with that. The age has come down, believe it or not. And I think our starting 11, if it was all fit, would be more like 26, probably. But yeah, I think we found the older age group, the experience with the National League has struggled to play week in, week out. But I think in this division, you can get away with it more. And I do think in this division, I think it's potentially, 1.5 divisions below the one above. I think that's the bottom line. I think if you speak to promoted managers recently, they'll tell you they find the jump very difficult. If you look at the data,
the North is stronger than the South? Because I've always felt that the North has been a bit stronger than the South going into it. Or
Yeah, I think so. It's got more stalwart,
yeah,
full-time ex-football league clubs. But you've only got to look at the relegated teams in the last 2 years
mm,
to see how difficult it is to stay in this division for more than a couple of seasons. So,
yeah,
so I think it's a bigger jump. But my point is, to your point, Tom, is that I think you can get away with experience more in this division than the one above.
that's cool. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, we're going to the last bit, obviously, unless anyone's got other questions. Thanks so much for your time. It's been absolutely
That's
brilliant.
okay.
So going forward, obviously, when does it get to a stage, or will it ever do? Because you never have a plan where you go, right, maybe someone else needs to take charge. And how would a Dorking without Marc White, at least managing it, ever look? It'd just be weird.
Yeah, it would be weird, wouldn't it? I don't know. I just feel like one day it might just happen really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't. I just think it'll be like, oh, there's been an event scenario, and I'm like, yeah, look, this is happening. Um, I just don't know. I really don't know. It is weird, isn't it? It is weird. I've got to have a good season this year. Otherwise, otherwise I'm a man under pressure.
You're gonna sack
But
yourself. Yeah.
I was
yeah,
going to say,
but that's the
can that happen? I mean, you
yeah. I
you'll leave when
couldn't.
you want to leave, won't you? Of
Yeah, but I mean, I couldn't roadblock like common sense, if that makes sense. Like
course.
if I knew that the level of investment and performance, there's a massive disparity. I just couldn't sit there and go, I'm the manager. I just wouldn't sit right. But last year was the opposite. Like we was a small part-time hybrid,
Yeah.
been a massive injury crisis. We'd finished 16th the year before, so it was kind of like, well, you know what? It's I've made a few mistakes, but
Was that
realistically,
was
the
that a
fact,
success for you finishing 16th in your first season in the National League to you? Or do you think you
yeah,
underperformed a little bit?
I thought we overachieved massively. Actually, we were doing 2 evenings a week. Um, we was one of only 2 teams to beat Notts County that year.
Mm,
We had some amazing days, like incredible, like unforgettable for the town. But our town's not known anything like it.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, we no, look, my the club being successful is the key. And I hope that I'm not in a position where I've got to sit there and think, shit, Mark, you're underperforming. But
Mm.
you never know, do you?
Did you have any thoughts
Sam's
last?
laughing. Sam's ready to
Did you have
start.
any?
Sam's going to start the fake Twitter account.
Oh, well, I am literally. I got so much stick before today because I'm always going to like a bunch of amateurs and Dorking and that. If I got stick before, I can't imagine how stick I'm going to get afterwards. So, talking Dorking's going to be interesting, though, isn't it? So, let's
I
see.
don't think you were born, Sam, when Dorking Wanderers was created.
No, no, I'm
99.
You're
99.
not.
So,
Blimey, that
no.
makes me feel old, Clive.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
don't know about
It's
you.
horrible, isn't it?
What's it
Yeah.
like having
Yeah.
like people seeing all these people like support your club now, especially like the younger generation coming through? What's that actually? Because you start with literally, as you said on other podcasts, it's literally one bloke walking his dog, going, "Oh, they play good football these." And
Yeah.
then how is it when you see these like families and you see people come in and be part, and especially with a
To be
bunch of
honest with you,
amateurs, like
yeah,
from
to be honest
a
with you, like when we've had like big moments like that famous playoff win where we
incredible,
scored with 5 seconds to go,
incredible.
it just chokes you up really
Yeah.
because you never get used to it. And I wish I could say that I normalised being in the National League, but I didn't. We're
Mm.
walking out. We had TV games at Notts County, Oldham, and I really wish I could have been cool enough to go, yeah, this is where we are. But I couldn't help but take it in because where we've come from, it never kind of got old. I was always going, even last game of the season when we was relegated, we're at Rochdale, and I'm like, yeah, but we were playing Crawley Dynamo in Division 5, and like the pitch wasn't on the right side, and we had to referee the first half, and they refereed the second half. So it's for me, it's incredible, and I'm really appreciative of the support. I'm always quite intrigued by what people like about it, which is people want to people like the real element of football, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's that kind of like, you know, it's football's a little bit removed, isn't it? It's a bit of a
Mm.
TV sport at times,
Mm.
or some owners are just rubbish, and some owners
Hmm.
just don't involve the fans in the club.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just think there's honestly, I could sit here all night and tell you the story. Don't we genuinely have people that come from Australia on a regular basis just to watch us.
Incredible.
And I always say, well, no, you must be visiting someone. And they go, no, but we just come see you and watch Dorking. We love Dorking. I was in Costa one morning and 7:15, two guys came in with "We Are Wanderers" t-shirts, and they were just pointing at me, going, "Mark." I said, "Yeah, yeah." They goes, "Oh, it's a Saturday morning." They go, "Well, we've they're American." They go, "We've just landed. We've come over for the game." But we get that week in, week out. New Zealand, Scotland, all over the UK, home and away. Just get this unique interest, and I just appreciate it so much because obviously I've devoted my life to it, and I feel like because of where the club's come from,
Yeah.
even if it's favourites, it's got to be the underdog, and I think that's what people like.
Yeah, no, I was thinking because this season you're technically favourites, but at the end of the day, you're still Dorking. You're still that.
You are definitely favourites. You are the big club, and you will have targets on your backs
I
this
know
year.
what you're doing here, Clive.
Absolutely, mate.
We're the small Torquay United. We only have one player a few months ago. Come on, there's no pressure on us at all. As a proud
To be
Football League
fair,
club.
I hope the fans go easy on you guys, because it's to have a club is crucial. I think you should just consolidate this year.
We're all
and take it
together
easy.
now. Yeah,
we're going for playoffs.
I'll be gutted if we don't make the playoffs, but it's the whole town is together now.
Yeah.
Seriously,
that's the biggest point,
and it's brilliant. It just feels so much better than before.
How,
can I ask you? Go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that there is a real common theme that when this happens to clubs, I could name clubs now. Stockport recently, Stockport, similar situation. Town got together, kicked on Chesterfield.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The list goes on, and it does seem that sometimes Oldham, you have to have that little sort of, you have to hit the wall a little bit to kind of bounce back as a community. There is a common theme with that I've observed.
Yeah, I mean Exeter's the example down here as well,
right?
Because they're fan owned now, because they were run by two absolute crooks who bankrupted them. They had to start from fresh, and my goodness me, they've done a brilliant job
League
with
One, incredible.
Yeah.
It's
no,
horrible, but it's incredible
because they're not a League One size club, so they're punched above their weight. It's very good.
Yeah.
He says through gritted teeth.
I think we're training there. You'll be pleased to know.
That would be nice. Yeah, good.
You're doing it a weekend then? Weekender.
Go and let the fireworks off.
Can I speak briefly about your last visit to Plainmoor and just a bit about Torquay United in general? How were you welcome to Plainmoor at that time? I know they cut the lights on you when you were trying to do your interview with the bunch of managers lot, and you had to do it in your hotel afterwards. But how welcome did the club make you feel under the old ownership, which thankfully have gone and nothing to do with our club anymore? And also, that Tuesday night game, that really big 6-pointer against us where we took about 400, I think. And I remember you making a point to thank the fans who came down as well. You looked after us so well with that £1 pint discount you gave us. I was gone, a couple of pints in, I was gone doing a bit of a report there. But just your
the best
overall
way to watch
thoughts.
Torquay that
That's
season.
it, exactly. But any words about Torquay United in general?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's just it's an iconic club, isn't it? I mean, that's the bottom line. Everyone's heard of Torquay from John O'Groats to Land's End, and so for us as small Dorking Wanderers, our job when we go places is always to respect the legacy and the history of the club, and at the same time, history around our territory, and that's why you'll see me acting up and doing all the things that we've always done for Dorking when we've always been the small fish in the pond, and let people know we're there. And then it takes people a while to understand that's not we're not bad people. We're not like, we like to roll things up. We like to celebrate, but then we shake hands or we have fun with it. And I met loads of great fans, Torquay, staff as well at the club. I remember as well, talking to people on the pitch as well. And obviously they were saying about the sort of ownership at the time as well. But it was just great to be an iconic ground. And you've got that thing that loads of clubs have got, like Football League syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean
Yeah.
by that?
Yes.
No, yeah, no,
Yes.
absolutely.
We suffer it every day.
Well, what I'm saying is like, so I mean, Hartlepool fan, they don't like me for saying this, right? But I'm like, the minute you accept you're playing Dorking Wanderers is the minute you'll kick on again. Because
Yeah.
you're not in the
Yeah.
Football
No.
League, you're
Totally
Torquay
with you.
United, you're in the division you're in. And actually, as Clive said, what's good about that? Well, actually, the whole community can get back behind the club. You
Hmm.
can rebuild it, create success, get more people in the gate. And there's so many positives about embracing where you are. Oldham, when they were playing us, had no idea where Dorking was. Remember Frank's famous comments, where's Dorking? And he got criticised. And the fans were like, what the hell? How could we fall this far? But they sort of then almost learnt to embrace it a little bit. And,
Yeah.
so the only reason I'm saying that is I remember the fans were sort of singing away, doing their normal bit, blah, blah, blah. But I think we're respected by most fans, and I've got a lot of time for clubs, all clubs to be fair, and certainly the iconic ones. And it'd be great to come down to you, with all your off-field battles kind of resolved.
They are.
And it's
Yeah.
all
No,
it's
we've
only
got
the only
great
way
understanding.
forward.
It's a
Yeah. No.
completely different club now.
It's amazing.
Absolutely
Got
amazing what
great
they've
Talk
done.
United people behind it.
You've hit the jackpot with the fixtures as well. Truro and Torquay away in August. Blimey. What have
I
you done with
know.
the fixture, man? It got all that.
Well, you're going to say if you upset the FA, but we know that all the time. Um,
When
but
are you going to do your badges, Mark?
yeah, well, no, well, I mean, obviously, I'm under pressure to at this stage based on last year's performance. Um, no, it's no, we're yeah, true. I know. To be fair, it's one of those get it out of the way jobs. I think so. We're not that bothered, but I think we're so central to this league,
Mm.
so central. So if you looked at our travel map, this is a really nice league for us to be in. Whereas if I'm kind of like, and it does play a part, doesn't it? Because financially, if I'm Truro or Torquay, every away game or a lot of the away games are away games. Um, so yeah, we're not. There's only a couple of long trips for us, really. So
Yeah.
looking forward to them.
I
Yeah.
remember saying last season, us going to Braintree away was almost the same as us going to Altrincham away. So just because you fall down a level for us in that respect, our
That'll make
travel
no
kind of stayed
difference.
the same almost. But
Yeah,
yeah, I want to just quickly bring up the ownership side as well a little bit with our new owners. I know they watch our stuff and they've been so engaging to Talky Talk and everything else. So from owner to owners, what advice would you give to our new consortium for future success for our football club? I know you'll probably want us to finish second this season and you
Yeah.
finish top, of
You take
course, but
title, we take playoffs, right?
yeah.
yeah. No, we'll both take home playoff games as an objective. I think it's always a good one. And as we said before, if you get lucky, you might win the league. I would just say set expectations. So as an owner, I feel like a lot of managers and fans are judged and judge each other on maybe the size of the club or the division, but not enough owners set expectations, and that's really important. The owner knows what the playing budget is. They understand what that looks like in terms of the league. They understand what the objectives are, and it's because I've known managers, friends of mine, that are literally. I mean, in fact, I don't mind saying, Chris Millington at Halifax, he just won the FA Trophy at Wembley. Halifax back at Wembley for the first time ever, or whatever. He was sixth in the division, right? Um, Best home record in the league. We beat them 1-0 at half time, walking off. The crowd booed and were abusing him, right? And you're like, I'm not sure they understand. He's got the lowest budget in the league,
Mm.
right? Like,
Mm.
to my advice to the owners would be like, apart from engage the community times 10, would just be make sure everyone knows what the clear expectations are. Because if Sam's fuming that, you're ninth, because Clive think, well, we're Torquay, Football League syndrome, we should be third. But in reality, if the playing resources are mid-table, then someone's got to
Yeah.
sort of say, look, our expectation is this. Because otherwise you just get fans disgruntled, managers under pressure. And then financially, I would just say, yeah, be prepared to, be prepared to, be organised, and the best thing they can do is just drum up the community in every single way possible. I'm going to bring a keep net down to Torquay. For those 3 or 4 fans behind the dugout that didn't quite get the gig, I'm gonna put it in the ground like a big keep net, like this big. No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing the fans. I hope they come down and shake my hand, because we had a really good night down there,
Yeah,
and really
good game as
enjoyable.
well. Good 3-3,
It
wasn't
was
it?
a
That
good
game was
game.
chaos, that game. I'd be
Yeah, it
lying if
was
I
a
said
good
it was
game.
more mistakes than talent at times, especially from Torquay's side, but it was chaos. I love that game. That was incredible.
Are you going to
Go on,
play the
Craig.
same way? Sorry, because I don't remember seeing many teams in that division play like that. I mean, it
Oh, it's
was
incredible to
just
watch.
the keeper was playing midfield almost, wasn't he? Similar plan for this year, or
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, that's most. It's kind of like most modern side. We've been doing it quite a while. We probably,
yeah,
to be honest with you, I'm not going to blow our trumpet, but we were sort of doing possession based 3-5-2 when only about 2 teams played that way.
yeah,
Um,
It was
I've
novel
got
when
one
we
more
saw it.
question,
Yeah.
actually. One more question,
Yeah.
right? So I believe we 3-5-2 is formation historically. A few managers have tried it at Torquay. It's never worked. And obviously we seem to be going in that sort of way this year. As someone who's
Cheers,
not the
Sam.
biggest tactician, right?
Take
That's all
some
right.
notes.
That's all right. As a tactician, how is a 3-5-2 meant to work? Because in my mind, I'm very much like you need a fullback and you need to because you can double up on wingers then. 3-5-2 is it
Right.
because
So if it's so when you play Dorking and both
yeah,
teams are 3-5-2, yeah, both teams have an extra man at the back.
yeah,
So basically, if you go long, you're kicking the ball into an
yeah.
extra man, and if you play out, you're playing out with an extra man.
Right, okay. So
So
that's why it's meant. That's why it works. I'm always trying to work out how it works. No, it works for my football
so
manager.
yeah. So if you play 3-5-2 versus a normal 4-2-3-1 or 4-5-1, then the whole game is man for man.
Yeah.
Literally man for man. There's not a spare player on the pitch. So that's when, if you're in a 3-5-2, that's when you create like a 3-6-1, and then the 10 will go and make
Right.
a modern to try and make an extra man. But see, honestly, when we were 3-5-2 like 3-4 years ago, in the division there'd be about 2 teams. Now there's about 17. And furthermore, a lot of teams have developed playing boxes permanently, 3-6-1s and stuff like that. Which I don't believe are great for winning divisions, because I just don't believe you get enough goal scorers in the team. As I said before, who won the South last year?
Well, Yeovil.
Yeovil.
Yeah, Yeovil. Okay, yeah. Who was their goal scorers? Obviously, Reece scored a few.
I was going to say Reece. It was mainly, well, they've taken ours this season, but they had a lot of goals. Frank Newberley, who was ex-Torquay, he scored a lot. And yeah, their 2 strikers always work well
Jordan
together.
Young, was he there? Jordan Young.
Yeah, he was a very good player. Yeah.
Yeah. But Chesterfield 4-2-3-1 last year, and every one of the 4 could score goals. So, but yeah, it's but obviously people change, don't they? People think, well, if they're playing 3-5-2, we'll play this and blah blah
Yeah, it's
blah. But that's
interesting.
the tactical side.
Yeah, it's essentially because at times I watch 3-5-2, and it's like if the wing back is out of the game, is defending, you can't go down the wing at all unless the
They
central
can't
midfield
see.
comes
So what
in.
happened in 3-5? So in a 3-5-2 competition, if Dorking and play Torquay, the wing backs are just up against each other. And if you beat the wing back, think about it logically, you've then got the wide defender that's spare.
Yeah.
So your wing back, basically, so if we play another 3-5-2, we're more likely to play robust fullback type wing backs that we're not really relying upon to win the game, because it's more workmanlike. But if we're playing against a team with a back 4, then that wing back is on their fullback.
Right.
So all of a sudden you're going to play players that can win matches, more typical wingers playing at wing back. We've got like Briggs, Mewett, Bowerman that are good on the last man. But if you're playing up on it as a wing back comp, so there's loads to it.
I am now. Yeah, thank you. I've always wondered.
I'm gonna get Paul Watton on the phone now.
Yeah,
Paul.
I know. I've always been like a straight.
He'll be
You have
watching
to play
this,
a 4-2-3-1. 3-5-2 has never worked. It was a disaster at Torquay last season. But
Mark,
I've always tried to wonder, how does it work?
Mark, really
Yeah,
quickly before we finish, plastic pitches. I know they're a bit of Achilles heel for they don't certainly were Achilles heel for us.
literally, yeah.
Yeah,
I know you
literally,
haven't got a particular. You voiced your frustration about the quality surface that you've got at Meadowbank, but there's an awful lot of 3G and 4G pitches in this division. I think a third of teams in this league now have them.
I
How
know.
does that affect your preparations?
I know you're the second person to say that today, actually. I know it's more than we thought. Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Really, that's the bottom line because they're all different. That's the issue.
Hmm.
They're all different. Like, they've never worked out what a good one is. Um, so ours is rubbish, like really rubbish, like slow, inconsistent, causes serious injuries. Others are like tennis courts, no rubber on them. It's just like a tennis court, and so yeah, it's not ideal. I think obviously it's a bit of a home advantage to a degree, especially out of the league we've come from, when most pitches were like bowling greens, and there was only one other artificial pitch at Bromley who got promoted.
yeah.
Any plans to go grass at Meadowbank in the future?
Yeah, we're trying to buy the stadium, and we'd like to get a hybrid um, pitch. The Deso pitches, Oldham have got one, York have got one. They're amazing. They can have community use, maybe 35 hours a week. So, which is great to bring people in. But we talked about revenue. They're a means to an end.
Yeah.
So you have to do it if you're one of these
Sutton got
clubs.
stuck up by that, didn't they? Because they went to Football League, they had to get rid of it because they're in the Football League, and then they lost all their revenue, and then they're back in the National League, and they don't have that revenue. So
Yeah, it's crazy. They should give a 3-year window.
yeah,
For they should give a 3-year window to rip it up in case that happens.
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. There we are. Wow, thank you so much.
Well, mate.
Incredible. I also know about the 352 now as well.
Yeah, I
I
like
was
them chats. I could spend a long time on that.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I was straight. I'm a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 traditional, but that is
Goals
great to know
win
about.
leagues. Go through your
Yes,
squad and find the
yes,
goals, boys.
We've got them,
yes.
mate. We got loads.
We
Don't
have
worry.
got them.
We've
We'll
got
We'll
this.
find out sooner rather than later.
This is
Honestly,
getting
Really
them the
looking forward
chances.
to it.
That's the
20,
difference. Yeah.
24th of August, I think, isn't it? Really
love
looking
it.
Yeah.
I'll see you there, lads. Come and say hello.
Thanks for watching and joining us, Mark. And cheers.
All right, boys. Cheers,
Incredible.
lads.